So just to finish off with, then sometimes it can be really valuable to segment the data and do the same kind of analysis that we've just done. So, for example, we can take our summary data and create subsets where we base the each subset of the data or each data each subset of the data, each new data frame, summary high, data high, medium, and low on the daily sales. So we can pick out using the pandas lock function. We can pick out different rows from that data. Okay, we covered that a little bit in the first lecture, but not very much. And the rationale for doing this is that some subsets of data might exhibit particular correlations. Okay, and then we can visualize that scatter plot with colors representing different subsets. So what I'm doing in this one, rather than just doing so this is price versus cost that we saw, rather than doing just one scatter plot, I'm using the same figure, but I'm now doing a scatter of each different segment. So price versus cost for each different segment of data. And what that reveals is something like this. Let me run that one, because again, it's a bit tiny. But in actual fact, I don't know if you can see it there, but it's not really telling us very much. There's no obvious patterns going on there. If you were, let's see if we can, let's wait for that to pop up, but there it is. Okay, so higher the blue ones in the middle here, blue. So the position in this chart has nothing to do with whether they're high or low sales. The position in the charts to do with their price and their cost. So not whether how many products are sold. If you'd seen maybe a very strong line between, say, the orange dots or the green dots or the blue dots, then you could say there's a correlation in that particular segment, and that might influence the overall correlation. But we can't see anything here. There's no strong correlation between any of those three subsets. So we'd have to say that the segmentation in this case doesn't really reveal anything. Okay, so what can we conclude from that data? Reminder, we're not making business recommendations, so we're going to let the business analyst decide what to do. But what we can see is we can identify some strongly correlated products. So, and we saw, these we identify first in the heat map, and then we can go into the scatter plot and see the correlations, and then we can look at actually how those sales figures go over the year. And for example, it might make sense to group those products together, or you might say, well, okay, if we or conversely, if you want to, yes, conversely, you might say, well, if we stop selling, I don't know, H, does that mean, or M, does that mean the other things would drop as well? Because they're strongly correlated. People tend to buy two of these things with one of those. So we don't know enough about the data to be able to determine what the suggestion should be there for the business, but we can certainly highlight them to the business analyst. We also looked at correlations in the product summary data, and we saw a strong correlation between price and cost, but almost no other correlations. Everything else in this scatter plot is less than 0.32 is the next biggest one. So not very many correlations in the scatter plot there. Okay, so what have we seen in the lecture? Regardless of the data, we've seen how to do scatter plots and heat maps. Heat maps using another library called Seaborn. We've seen that we can easily detect and visualize correlations, and then go back to the original time series data and explore them to get more insight into what's going on. And that then allows us to really make sense of the data, much more than we were able to before. Okay, I'm going to finish the lecture there. Hope you found that interesting, and then next week we'll look a bit more about how sometimes the seasonality can drive those correlations.